Thank you, Phil. He's a good man, isn't he? Phil Greer. Love that man. The title we've given this message is What's Next? What is next? What's next? I think that's an interesting question just to start with. I came up with it. As I've dwelt on it more and more, I thought, isn't that interesting? That we get to think that we get to decide what is next. I think that's fascinating to me. Whenever I've met many people, many of you, and people will often ask, what's the vision of the church? In fact, what they often say is, what's your vision for the church? And I think that's a bit interesting, because why do I get to set a vision for Jesus' church? You know, let's talk about it this way. Has any of you been to Box Park? You been to Box Park? You go into Box Park and there's like many different shops there, aren't there? Many different restaurants. You kind of feel like, what's going to tickle my taste buds today? And I don't know, what do you like? You maybe like the burritos. I quite like a burrito, yeah? Emma likes the burritos. Who's the Thai Express? Who likes the Thai? Yeah, Thai. The Thai. What about meat? Like the burger in meat. Yeah, oh yeah, look at that. We've got burgers. And I think sometimes we feel like we go into Box Park and our question is, which shop shall I get some food from? And we might go into one of the shops and we check out the menu and we'll be like, it looks good, but it's a bit pricey. I mean, it's a bit expensive. So I'll try another one. We go to another one and it's like, oh yeah, that's what I feel like I want today. So we pay our £7 or £8 or whatever it is, get our food and we sit down and we eat our food. What's next? Burrito. Burrito's next. What's next? What's your vision for your lunch today? I think Breakfast Club. I want one of those, all-American pancakes meals. What's your vision for your life with Jesus? Well, I've had a look at the shop of holiness. It's a bit expensive. It's a bit expensive. But I tell you what, sung worship, that goes down nice. That's next for me. That's next. Or what about kind of honouring Jesus with your finances? I tried that shop, but 10%? Are you serious? That's too much money, and it sticks in my teeth. I don't think the Spirit of God is calling me to go in that shop right now. Instead, I'm going to eat from this other one. Loving everybody. That's what's next. Sexual holiness, sexual faithfulness. Whew. I mean, I'm still trying to digest that when I went a few weeks ago. What's next? The sin of us as people, right from the Garden of Eden until now, is that we feel like we're the customer and God serves us what we want and we get to choose. I get to choose. I don't feel like Jesus is really, I don't feel like Jesus is really calling me to love my neighbour right now. I just need to sort myself out. What? What's next? What's next? What is next? Continuing the Box Park metaphor, the word that the New Testament uses for the people of Jesus is chef. Chef. What's next? Well, this person, Jesus, has set this menu. This is the menu. And this customer, the Holy Spirit, Father, Son, is asking you to make this dish. Can you imagine if you walked into a shop and you're like, can I have this please? What's it, pad thai with battered chicken, hot sauce. I mean, it's expensive, but it's worth it. He walked in there and the chef was like, I'm just not really feeling that today. What's next is what's always been next. What the Father has always called his people, it's the book, it's the Bible, it's the Word of God. And I think it's amazing to me that we kind of, at a time where we maybe don't read the Bible so much, it's almost like an act that gives us more freedom to choose what's next because we don't really know what's in the book. Because we don't really know what it says. We feel like, what's the Spirit asking me to do? And actually, what's next is what's always been next. It's what God has already said over centuries, and it's unambiguous. It's in the text, it's in the Bible, it's in the book. That's what's next. And I have a growing passion. I just want to see people who sing that they love Jesus and then live like it. I'm so tired. I'm so tired of meeting people who tell me they're really up for Jesus, and then you see that they'll sacrifice loving others for the pursuit of the particular slant that they want. I'm so tired of that. So tired of it when we don't really want to become like Jesus. We just want God to give me more income. I want God to heal my problems. I want God to make me feel good inside. But when he asks me, oh no, Tom, would you go and live a life of radical holiness, unambiguously committed to everything I've said in my book, to reach out to your neighbour, even when they're rude to you, would you do that? I'm tired of saying no to that question, and I'm tired of seeing so many say no to that question. So this is that little jolly beginning. I just want to outline what we understand the book to teach. And we're trying to break it down, make it easy for us. So here's what we call the Vineyard Man. You seen him before? Vineyard Man. You see, if you're here and you're not a follower of Jesus, none of this applies to you. None of what I've said applies to you. You can just look and decide, is Jesus who he says he is or not? But once you've made the decision that, yes, I'm going to follow you, Jesus, would you come and be the Lord of my life? Once we've made that call, then we sit in this. Because he's claimed you. He's bought you at a price. We're no longer our own. He's bought us at a price. And he's bought us that we would display the glory of God to the whole of creation. That in every moment, in every single thing we do, we demonstrate the glory of God. And the Bible gives us three primary directions that we demonstrate that glory. Three primary outworkings. Upward, back to God, inward to the church, and outward to those who don't know Jesus. Up, in, out. So we reflect the glory of God in an upward direction. In view of God's mercy, offer your bodies back to him as living sacrifices. Romans 12:1. Matthew 5:48. Be perfect as your Father is perfect. 1 Peter 1:15. Just as he who called you is holy, be holy in all you do. Galatians 6:8. Whoever sows to the Spirit, from the Spirit will receive the life of a coming age, eternal life. Sow to the Spirit. We become like Jesus. Our call for our Father is he wants us to look more and more like Jesus. To walk as Jesus walked. In every aspect of our lives. to whole life worship of the Father. And we need the Spirit's leadership. Only by the Spirit can we do this. Only by Him. So we wait. We worship and we wait. And that is what it is to have an upward relationship with the Father. You know, it's not in our own strength, it's not by our might, but it's by His Spirit. But His Spirit grabs our efforts and makes them effective. We strain, we take captive every thought. We want to live a life. My dream is I can wake up one morning and I pray this many mornings. Like, God, let today every single thing I do and say be for your glory. Please, God, every minute I want to be for your glory. And normally by the time I've eaten my breakfast, I'm like, I've lost some minutes here. But I'm back on it. I want more. I want more of the glory of God to be demonstrated. We bring people to Jesus, which is the arms. We stand on our feet, right? We stand on our legs of worship and waiting. Everything comes out of that. Everything comes out of our relationship with God. But we also live a life reaching out with our arms of witness and of welcome. Of witness and of welcome. The witness of the kingdom, which is manifested primarily through what most of us are employed. That's where we manifest the kingdom, the way we operate in our workplace. The way we treat people, our customers, our colleagues. The way we respond when we get a piece of bad news. That's how in our homes, the way we treat the people we live with. Our spouse or our children or our parents or our housemates. That's the primary demonstration of the kingdom. The witness. And we speak words courageously. Go into all the world and make disciples of all nations. Do good to all people, Galatians 6 says. Matthew 24, love your neighbour as yourself. Colossians 3, do everything as if you're doing it unto Jesus as Lord. So when you get to work tomorrow, if indeed you don't, I know many of you work shifts, some of you are looking for work, some of you are at home with children or retired and all that, but for those of you, when you go to work tomorrow morning and you sit down or you're going to drive your bus, look at your emails, let me write a response to this email as if I'm writing it for you, Jesus. Let me indicate round this corner and treat these rest of this traffic unto you, God. Let me do this in a way that demonstrates your glory. And then radical welcome expressed in generosity. We want to be the people, Jesus' people should be the people who are most radically welcoming and encouraging of all people. We're just like, God loves the whole world so much. And so those who are commonly rejected or despised or spoken badly of, we show a radical welcome to those people. This is what's next. And then thirdly, we build up Jesus' church. We build up Jesus' church. We use 4 analogies. I think all of them are biblical. They're not particularly the words from the Bible, but I think they call on themes that are the key themes of the New Testament. We're family. Jesus actually says, those people who gave birth to me, they're not my family. This is my family if they do what God says. I mean, that is so radical, it's hard to swallow, isn't it? He says to his mum, you're not my mother. This person instead is my mother because she is doing what the Father wants. I sever my ties with my family as it was, and I create a new family. An army sacrificially serving God's call, a school committed to development and growth, a hospital ministering comfort and healing. Comfort and healing. The book of Hebrews is all about continuing to invest and love the gathering of the people. They were tempted to give up on it. It could be written to our world today. It could be so much. Do not give up meeting together, Hebrews 10. Hebrews 13, remember your leaders, imitate their faith. Obey your leaders, submit to them because they keep watch over your souls. You know, the New Testament, it believes in leadership, it believes in community. It's not individual identity, you know, like, I don't want to enter into this shop in Box Park, God, of submitting to a leadership authority. I don't want that, because I've been hurt there before. I got food poisoning last time I went there. I'm just going to choose to do what I want. I'll watch the videos I want on YouTube. I will listen to the worship albums I want to listen to. And I'll choose what my calling for my life is, thank you very much. And every now and then I might check in on a local church because I know that's what I'm meant to do. Hebrews says, What's next? Whatever Jesus says is next. He decides. We don't get to decide those things. I've been killed, but honestly, we can compare wounds of how people have treated you in church, and I reckon I'll win. I've been really hurt, but we do it because he says it. Titus 1, this is what he says. It's important what you need to do to make the church. It says to Titus, remain in Crete, which is where you are, to bring order to what's there, and appoint leaders in every town. 1 Peter 5, if you're a leader, shepherd the flock. Shepherd your flock. Shepherd them. Don't let them just do whatever they want. Shepherd. Don't lord it over those entrusted to you. Serve as an example. And that's my prayer, that's what I can do. Romans 12:10, don't just pretend to love one another, really do it. I love it. It's on that one there, out in the hallway, one of the things that, you know, we don't just pretend we love one another. We want to really do it. We want to really do it. Have you come across the Love Languages book? Lots of people, when they get married, have come across it. There's like 5 love languages, this guy. What's his name? Gary Chapman. It's helpful. 5 love languages. I think this is really helpful. I say I love you, and the question is, well, what about the time? I love you. I love the body that God's given her. We're called to love the church. We're called to love the church. So do we give the church, the people, do we give them time? Do we give them time? I'm challenged on that at the moment. Acts of service. I love the church. Well, when's the last time you did something for somebody else in the church that was just for their sake? You know, I hear so often, I'll be like, it'd be great to serve the church. Do you want to serve on a team? I serve in other ways. People will say, I serve in other ways. Okay, well, tell me the ways you serve. Well, you know, I'll see you on your terms again. Acts of service. If we love the church, we'll serve the church. Words. We'll speak well of others. We'll choose to speak well of others. We'll choose to speak well. I've come across many church leaders, and they'll say to me, like, non-Christians, I want to reach non-Christians, but Christians, I hate Christians. And I'm like, you're lucky the Lord doesn't strike you dead right now. What? Like the number, they're like, love God, but like the second commandment, which is like that one, is what? Love other people. And then you look through the letters in the New Testament, especially other believers. Physical connection. Some people just want a hug. When's the last time you hugged somebody? Just give them a hug. Just give them a hug. I don't care if you like hugs or not. It all matters is today. I didn't really like that. I was, stay away from me. Don't. And then over my life, there's been more people who, I just want to, like Hemal, who sat there, we hadn't known each other for very long. He gave me this lovely hug. Gave me a lovely hug. And I was like, oh, my kids have been playing up. I'm tired. Brims has been making mischief again. But here's a hug. Oh. It ministered the love of God to me. And then gifts. Okay, so click. Okay, go back one. Oh, we can do that one now if we want to. There we go. Okay, it's probably slightly small, but this is how we're going to break down for us then. So that's the menu, but I think all Christians, all churches we have to work with. And for us specifically, what does this look like? What's the outworking of that? So building up Jesus' church, proactively growing Sunday congregations and teams, investing in North to 18s, discipleship in small groups, clear integration events and communications, and growing leaders, developing leaders. That's how we want to love the church. That's the things that we want to give ourselves to in terms of facilitating and growing the church. And then I want to look at bringing people to Jesus. Everyday kingdom witness. We run the Vineyard English School. Caroline, she's out. She's been doing amazing things like that, and many of the team. It's wonderful. This is wonderful what they do. It's wonderful. It's just, every week there's new people who are just welcomed in. It's a radical welcome. It's free, high quality stuff. You get people smiling at you and caring for you, as well as teaching you a really quality skill. It's wonderful. Street cafe. We want to see more stepping stones towards Sunday, so things like Alpha have been helpful for that. The CAP course, the money course that Robin and Grant's not here, but they've helped facilitate. And then online outreach. The reality is that nearly every person now will want to look at something online before they go. So we're trying to improve what we do. We're trying to get a new website going. Facebook, Instagram, I don't use it. Twitter. These things. Apparently, this is where we need to be. So we want to be there to help people come to Jesus. And then becoming like Jesus. That's gone slightly wrong in the front there, but songwriting and worship times. As Justin was saying, this is where we can meet with God. We want to invest in what these guys lead us into. We want to grow in that. We want to know and teach the grubby orange, our understanding of the primary theology, the big narrative of the Bible. Intercession and encounter. Our own lives growing in prayer, interceding for things and encountering God just on a bus, sat in my bedroom, on my lunch break. We want to grow in this. We want to invest in this. Just all of us, all the time. Significant financial giving. Do you know this is such a helpful and essential gift to the church? If you have the desire to give beyond what is normal, that's a gift to the church, and we love it. We love it. And we need it, actually. And then more signs and wonders in ministry times. We want to see God bringing just dramatic healing and transformation. That's why we've been going. We met with the leaders, I think, probably just about 15 months ago, and we pretty much outlined this. We used the hall of a Catholic church up near where we live, and we just went through this and said, this is where we want to push into, and I think we're making good progress on much of this. This is where we feel as a church we want to keep going. What's next? That is. For us specifically, that's what we want to do. Maybe there's something on there and you think, yeah, I'm involved with that. I want to see God use me in that. Maybe there's something there that's grabbing you and you're thinking, yeah, I want to do this. I want to do this. Well, I affirm you that is a step towards maturity. That is a step towards growth in your faith. This is obedience to Jesus. to do these things. I just want to equip you with something. Just click on it with your mind to the next slide. Back one. We missed that one. Back to the faithful and focus. Did I have them in the wrong order? I might have had them in the wrong order. Focused and faithful leads to fruitfulness and fun. There is something I see increasingly, and I quite like to look at what's going on in society and what other people are saying. You would have heard people use the phrase millennials, and I wonder how helpful that is as a phrase. And I think it's become pejorative, unfortunately. But there's the idea that within society, we are more and more given to thinking, this is my dream that I want, and not be equipped to know how to get to that place. So I want to be like the next Mark Zuckerberg. I want to be the next Taylor Swift. I want to be, what's his name? Wayne Rooney. Yeah? But we don't know how to get there. And so what they're saying, as many employers are saying, is that people show up 20, 22 years old, and because they're not running the company, after 6 months they quit. I want to have an impact. I want to do something meaningful with my life. And I expect that to happen I want to see the fruit of that in 9 months. And actually, it's like, oh my goodness, how do we do this? We've got to equip people with the understanding that faithfulness brings fruitfulness. You don't get, apart from one person once a year on X Factor or The Voice, you don't get that. And even then, do you know what? How many of them have made it? Because you don't get, to snap your fingers and go from, I'm nowhere to, I'm on top of the world, hey? You don't get that. It's hard work. Some of it's mundane. Some of it you don't want to do it, but you just do it because you know it's what's needed. And if you keep doing that over 10 or 15 years, then you can turn around and be like, I'm making an impact. And the classic thing that they say to church planters is like, how long are you going to go to this place you want to plant a church? How long are you going to give this new ministry that you want to start? How long are you going to commit to doing what you feel God's given you to do? And they'll be like, well, I'm going to do it at least 6 months. You say, well, just don't even bother starting. Serious. Just don't even bother starting. Because it's faithfulness. It's over the period of time that you learn and you grow and you invest. Then you see fruitfulness, and then it's fun. So we're just beginning I'm just beginning in what I'm doing. And do you know what? I've got a good mother. And I flitted from one thing. I did 2 years here, move house, 2 years, do that. Change job, 2 years. And I did this all the way up to I was about 27, 28. And my mother sat me down and said, Tom, you're ruining your life. You can't jump from one thing to the next. Get on with one thing and stick with it. And it came at the same time as this guy who I really respected who was doing stuff in banking, and he was like, well, if I look at your CV, I wouldn't employ you. I was like, what are you talking about? I've aced everything. He's like, yeah, but you've never done anything for more than 2 years. I don't want that. And in the church, do you know what? You could do something average. You could be bang average at serving. If you do it for 5 years, you'll see immense fruit. You could be the most gifted person, do it for 5 months. 5 years on, nobody's going to remember you. Nobody's going to that doesn't bear fruit. Except in extremely unusual circumstances where God just decides to do something different from normal. I've been telling my boys, we've been going through the book of Proverbs. They love it. I love it because it's so weird. but this is wisdom that we need to know. Faithfulness and focus leads to fruitfulness, and that's fun. Okay. So I just want to flag this up quickly. I know I'm going a long time. What's coming up in the next term? We're going to, Everyday Kingdom Witness, we're going to really push on this. We're going to do a series on the book of Daniel. It's going to be called, It's Not the End of the World, is it? So we're going to look at the book of Daniel, and it's going to be really looking at how do we live out a life of fruitfulness and effectiveness for Jesus in the midst of an exile, in the midst of a society that is increasingly idolatrous and rejecting everything that we think Jesus would want. Okay, that's what we're going to look at in the mornings. In the evenings, we're going to look at the Sermon on the Mount, living the Jesus life. We really want to equip you to live a life that is everyday witnessing to the glory of God, demonstrating the glory of God. We've got Tier Funds, who are international aid charity coming, great guys, coming in next week. And in the evening, we've got Cry in the Dark, which is, Steve Cooper is an amazing guy, very catalytic, and he's set up work in Romania, beginning working with orphanages, and it's expanded. There's just two great people showing how God uses ordinary people all across the world to demonstrate his glory and bring change. That's what's happening next week. Later in the term, we've got Leon Spence, who you may know as Leon Anthony. He does work with guys who are basically in gangs in Croydon. He's going to come in and we're going to interview him, and we're hoping we have also Teen Challenge, who do a lot of work with guys who, again, sort of on the edges or in drug use, drug dealing, and gang stuff. We want to see how God uses ordinary people in those kind of contexts. We're going to do that later in the term. And we're hoping we can organise an evening where we talk about a difficult topic, I know for many of us. What about sexuality? Talk about marriage, singleness, and sexuality. We're going to try and do a Q&A evening where you can all submit anonymous questions. What about this? What about that? And we're going to do our best to sort of work through them and say, let's talk about that. So that's what's coming up. Second thing, the big thing we want to push on, investing in our 0s to 18s. Do you know, I just checked our database, we've got 115 0s to 18s on our database. 115. God's been really growing, he's working in this. Just stick your hand up if you were involved in going along to, as a child, a church, whatever we call it, Sunday school, kids group, or a youth group. Just stick your hand up. Wow. Okay, and keep your hand up if you feel that the things that those guys put in you have helped you know God for the rest of your life. Okay, so this is massive. This is massive. I just want to flag up to you, we have 65 boys. 65 boys. I've provided several of them. There's 65 boys in our 0s to 18s. We have only 4 men investing in those 65 boys. Now, I know, if I think back to when I became a Christian in teenage years, who were the people who I wanted to look at? I appreciated everything that the female leaders provided for me, but it was the guys I could look at and think, I want to emulate him. We've got 65 boys, 4 men. To me, that's... Like, we've got as many adults leading the boys as I've got boys in the group. So some of you guys, I just want to say to you, could you invest in these 0s to 18s? It's once a month. But you could equip them with a vision of this is what it's like to be a follower of Jesus. And they could be somebody in 15, 20 years' time sat in a church who's being asked a question, did you go to kids group, did you go to youth group? And they're saying, yeah, I put my hand up, and when they're asked, and did somebody really invest in you and helped you for the rest of your life, they're thinking of you. We need it. Because in our 0 to 18s, we now have 34 0s to 11s to 18s, secondary school age. 34, we currently have 2 people leading those 34, which doesn't work. So we need to be able to split that group into the 11s to 14s and the 15s to 18s. And we need to have more people who say, yeah, I'm going to put my hand to the plow, I'm going to invest in these guys and help us create this new group. Because the ages of 11s to 14s are said over and over and over again to be the key ages where people walk away from Jesus. They may still be physically forced to come to church by their parents, but their hearts have walked away. 11s to 14s. I would get on my knees and beg for you to do this. If it's even remotely in your heart. We're trying to work out how we can resource it more, invest in it more. And then the third one is in intercessional encounter. We've run out of time. But we want to see you guys really growing in your life of prayer. Okay, that'll do. I wanted to pack a punch. So God, I pray, God, that just you take us as your people, those of us here who are your people. And we pray there's some who are checking you out. I pray for those who are checking you out, that they'd see you, Jesus, and they'd want to give themselves to you. And for those of us here who are your people, God, I ask that you would take us from thinking of ourselves as a customer to wanting to honour you as a chef, God. Giving you what you desire, what you require. And even now, Holy Spirit, I ask that you'd stir something. You'd stir something in our hearts. Father, I ask even right now, people would feel the affirmation that you bring for all those things that they're doing which are in line with your word. Bring deep affirmation, Holy Spirit, even right now. Encouragement. Would you strengthen? Would you strengthen those things in us which conform to the pattern of your will? And Holy Spirit, I even ask right now, in your gentleness, but in your unrelenting pursuit of truth, that you would convict us where our ways are crooked, where our hearts are cold, where folly and stupidity and laziness has come in or holds a place in our lives. Would you convict us? And in your great mercy, would you release forgiveness and cleansing to remove those things from our lives?